Good morning. The word for you today. Today is Thursday, October 12th, and our devotion today is titled Set Healthy Boundaries. Our scripture passage today comes out of the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 18, which says, "As surely as God is faithful, our word to you has not been yes and no." So, what is this saying? This is part of a series of discussions that Paul's having in the second letter to the Corinthians. Okay? If we go back a little bit, we'll read at verse 15, which says, "Because I was sure of this, I wanted to come to you first, so that you might have a second experience of grace. I wanted to visit you on my way to Macedonia, and to come back to you from Macedonia, and have you send me on my way to Judea. Was I vacillating when I wanted to do this? Do I make my plans according to the flesh, ready to say yes, yes, and no, no at the same time?" And then, "As surely as God," and the verse continues. So, our devotional writers today have decided to use this as a way to say we need healthy boundaries. I would like to look at a different part of the passage. I would like to look at a different part of the Bible. So we're not going to be quoting an actual scripture. We're going to be quoting a book. Let's talk about Deuteronomy. So first things first, Deuteronomy is one of my favorite books of the Bible. It's my favorite book in the Torah. It's the one that I read the most often. It has my favorite verse in it, what's called the Shema passage, Deuteronomy 6, 4 through 9. It has some of my favorite instances of God's grace and God's love for the Israelite people and humanity as a whole. Deuteronomy is a great book. And one of the things that Deuteronomy does is that it really re-establishes and re-cements all of the laws that were really important. So, for instance, if I turn in here, it talks about how in Deuteronomy chapter 5 reaffirms the 10 Commandments. Chapter 6 talks about the greatest commandments. I want to say it's chapter 13 or 14 that talks about clean versus unclean foods and sets up kosher laws. You have laws in here about purity and ritual purity, laws about boundaries and property markers, laws about atoning for sin. And all of these laws seem excessive to us. They seem kind of ridiculous in a sense because it is so much. It is so much to do, and it seems impossible to keep. So what is this for? Well, twofold reasons, I think. The first and most obvious is that this is God's covenant with Israel. But second, and I think what's more important, is that the laws that God gives to the people of Israel, to Moses, to the Israelites, to the Judeans, to us today, these are laws that are establishing and expressing boundaries that God has put in our lives, not to control us, but to protect us. For instance, we have laws about what is considered safe when handling a dead body, laws concerning infectious disease, skin-borne illness, things what we call leprosy in the Bible, laws about how to treat your neighbor, how to handle property disputes, how to deal with murder or assault charges. All of these things are giving boundaries for what is acceptable and good and right to do in situations of harm. And so the beauty of this is that this portion of the Bible, the book of Deuteronomy, and other parts of the Torah are establishing what God has determined to be healthy and safe ways to express our agency in the world. God doesn't say, I'm going to keep you from doing this, but God says, I don't want you to do this. He doesn't say, I'm going to twist your arm to where you don't partake in a certain activity, but he says, you will not do this because of your love for me. He says that I'm making these things for you. In essence, I'm giving you these laws not to control you, but because I love you and this is the safest and most natural way for you to healthily grow and experience the goodness of life. And so when I look at it that way, setting healthy boundaries suddenly has a whole new meaning for me. These boundaries that we're setting are, whether personal or professional, romantic or even just regular relational, all of these boundaries, what they're doing is they are helping us navigate the murkiness and the grayness of life, helping us establish what actions may or may not be appropriate, whenever it's not clear which way to act. Boundaries help us differentiate ourselves from the whole, enough to where we are able to express and show the goodness and the graciousness that is inherent in each person as a created image bearer of God. So, setting healthy boundaries. It's important, it's hard, but it's possible. Have a nice day.